For months, fans around the world have been asking the same question: is Yaman in love again? The Turkish heartthrob, known for his mysterious charm and guarded private life, has finally found himself in the middle of yet another storm. But this time, it isn't about a film, a series, or even a rumor, it's about her. Whispers began quietly, a few blurry photos, a shadow in the background, and a single post that disappeared just minutes after it was uploaded. Yet that was all it took for fans to go into full detective mode. Everyone wanted to know who the mysterious woman by Can's side was, and why he was keeping her a secret. At first, no one believed it. After all, Can had always been linked to his on-screen partners, Demet Özdemir, Francesca Cellini, and others. But this felt different. This wasn't for cameras, this wasn't for show, it was personal. Sources close to the actor described him as more peaceful lately, more distant from the noise, but with a light in his eyes that wasn't there before. Paparazzi tried to catch them together, but somehow, every attempt failed. One journalist even admitted, "It's like he's learned how to disappear." That only fueled the curiosity. Fans began to connect clues: a familiar bracelet spotted in two different photos, a voice in a background clip, and a reflection in the window of Can's car. And then it happened, the moment that broke the internet. A video surfaced from a small cafe in Rome. The lighting was dim, the quality poor, but one thing was unmistakable: Yaman sitting at a corner table, smiling, really smiling, at a woman whose face was turned away from the camera. She wasn't famous. She wasn't a model. But there was something magnetic about her. Within hours, hashtags exploded: hashtag Yaman mystery woman, hashtag secret romance, hashtag who is she. Millions of fans shared theories. Some said she was a journalist. Others believed she worked in production. A few even speculated she was someone from his past, maybe even connected to the chapter everyone thought was closed forever. Can, as usual, stayed silent. No denial. No confirmation. Just silence. And for his fans, that said everything. Because everyone who truly knows him knows one thing: Yaman never hides when something is false, only when it's true. But what the world didn't know was that this story went far deeper than anyone imagined. This wasn't just a secret romance. This was something that could change the way people saw him forever. The cafe video had done what no rumor, no tabloid, and no fan theory could do: it reignited the fire around Yaman's love life. Within hours, international magazines were picking up the story. Italian outlets called her La Donna del Mistero, while Turkish media described her as the unknown woman who made Can smile again. But who was she really? And why was Can trying so hard to keep her out of sight? Sources close to the actor began whispering that this wasn't a new story at all. In fact, some claimed it started months earlier, quietly, far away from cameras and fame. He met her at a private event, one insider revealed. She wasn't part of the industry. She didn't chase fame. That's what made her different. For the first time, Can wasn't being watched, judged, or followed, he was just himself. For someone who'd lived years under a microscope, that feeling was rare. And maybe that's why he fought so hard to protect it. Still, the clues were impossible to ignore. A delicate silver bracelet seen on her wrist appeared in one of Can's photos weeks later, placed casually on a table beside his coffee cup. A tiny detail, but fans noticed. Then came the matching watch strap. The same pattern. The same shade. Coincidence? Maybe. But the internet doesn't believe in coincidences. Reporters began camping outside his house in Rome, waiting for a glimpse of her. 4 days, nothing. Until one early morning, a photographer captured a figure stepping into a car parked in front of Can's building. Her face was turned away, but her silhouette matched the woman from the cafe video. The photo went viral in seconds. Still, Can said nothing. Instead, he posted a cryptic message on his Instagram story: "The most beautiful things grow in silence." That post was all it took. Fans interpreted it as confirmation, a poetic way of saying yes, there's someone, but it's private. Within minutes, thousands of comments poured in, protect her, Can. Finally, he's happy again. Whoever she is, she must be special. But behind all the noise, there was something else. People began to notice a pattern, moments when Can seemed lost in thought during interviews, a subtle smile when asked about love, a glance away when her name came up, even accidentally. Then came the twist. A source from a film set claimed that Can had recently turned down a high-profile romance role. Why? Because he didn't want to fake love while he was living the real thing. For fans, that was the ultimate confirmation. For the media, it was a story worth chasing to the very end. And so, the question changed. It was no longer, is he seeing someone? Now, everyone wanted to know, who is she? Days turned into weeks, and still, no one could find her name. The woman at the center of the storm had somehow managed to remain invisible, no interviews, no social media, no public traces. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. But then, something unexpected happened. An Italian magazine published a series of photos claiming to show the mystery woman walking through a quiet street in Rome, long coat, sunglasses, and that same calm posture seen in the cafe video. The resemblance was undeniable. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't her outfit or her looks. It was the pendant she wore, a small, silver charm shaped like a crescent moon. Fans immediately remembered, months earlier, Can had been photographed wearing a matching bracelet, with the exact same charm. The internet exploded again. Could this be proof that the two were connected? Speculation spread like wildfire. Some fans insisted she was a writer, someone who had worked on a production connected to Can's recent projects. Others swore she was a long-lost friend from Istanbul, someone who had known him before fame changed everything. But a small group of devoted fans believed something else, that this woman was not new at all. That she had always been there, somewhere in the background of his story. That theory caught fire when old footage resurfaced from a charity event 3 years earlier. Among the crowd, a young woman appeared briefly, the same hair, the same pendant, and the same quiet smile. The footage lasted only 2 seconds, but that was enough. Side-by-side comparisons flooded social media. People began calling her the silent one. Reporters started digging deeper. What they found only added to the mystery. Her name, they said, was Sarah, and she wasn't part of show business at all. She was a language teacher who had once volunteered as a translator during a festival Can attended in Italy years ago. That's where, according to whispers, they first met. Apparently, there was something instant between them, not love at first sight, but recognition. They spoke for hours, a friend of Sarah's reportedly said. But afterward, nothing happened. He went back to his world, and she went back to hers. Still, she never forgot him. So when fate brought them together again years later, in Rome, the same city that became his second home, it didn't feel like an accident. It felt like a continuation. She wasn't impressed by him, said one source. She treated him like a human being, not a celebrity. That's what made him fall. And now, while the world was obsessing over her identity, Can was doing everything he could to protect it. Not because he was ashamed, but because for once, he had something real. Something fragile. Something worth keeping away from the noise. The story had grown too big to control, and yet, neither of them said a word. That silence became louder than any headline. But what the world didn't know was that soon, that silence would be broken, not by Can, but by her. It happened quietly, no red carpets, no interviews, no dramatic announcement. Just a few lines buried inside a local Italian magazine that almost no one noticed at first. But those few words changed everything. Sarah, the mysterious woman everyone had been talking about for weeks, had finally spoken. Not in a formal interview, but through a short personal reflection she agreed to publish for a lifestyle column about finding peace in chaos. The piece never mentioned Yaman by name, but it didn't have to. Every line felt like it was written for him. I once met someone whose world was louder than mine, she wrote. He lived surrounded by flashes, voices, and expectations. Yet, when he spoke to me, everything went quiet. I learned that real connection doesn't need to be seen to exist. The moment fans discovered the article, it went viral. Thousands of people translated and reposted it across platforms. Within hours, Italian, Turkish, and Spanish tabloids were quoting the lines, calling it Sarah's silent confession. What followed was chaos: reporters outside her apartment, journalists trying to reach her workplace, photographers hiding near her street. But Sarah stayed calm. She didn't deny. She didn't run. She simply smiled and said to one persistent journalist, "If something is real, you don't need to defend it." That sentence alone was enough to confirm what everyone already suspected: Yaman was no longer single, and the woman he had been protecting all along was indeed the one who had stolen his heart. Meanwhile, fans noticed subtle changes in Can's behavior. He seemed happier. Softer. During one live interview promoting his latest project, a journalist asked him what inspired his calm new energy. Can laughed quietly before replying, "When someone brings peace into your life, you don't fight it. You just protect it." He didn't say her name, but everyone knew. The internet erupted again. Hashtags like #Can and Sarah, #Love in Silence, and #Real Love Story began trending globally. Behind all the noise, though, their relationship remained private, almost sacred. They were never photographed together again. No staged moments, no exclusive leaks. But sometimes, small details slipped through: a handwritten note on his table in a behind-the-scenes photo, a book he mentioned once in an interview that just happened to be her favorite. For fans, these little clues became symbols of something purer, a love story not built for attention, but for meaning. And as months passed, that mystery turned into admiration. People stopped asking, "Who is she?" and started saying, "She must be special." But what made this story unforgettable wasn't just the romance. It was the fact that, for the first time in his career, Yaman didn't play the hero, he became the human. And she, the quiet woman with the crescent pendant, became the person who reminded him that sometimes, the greatest love stories are the ones that never need to be performed. It had been months since Sarah's quiet confession, and yet the story still refused to die. Every time Can appeared in public, every smile, every gesture, every ring, every look, fans searched for clues. But he had learned how to live above the noise. During a television appearance in Spain, one reporter tried to corner him. "Can, are you in love?" He smiled gently, his eyes lowering for a second before answering, "Let's just say I'm grateful to have someone who sees me, not my name." That one line was enough to set the internet ablaze. Someone who sees me, not my name. For the millions who followed his journey, that was the most honest thing he had ever said. It wasn't a denial. It wasn't a performance. It was truth, simple, raw, and real. Soon after, photos emerged of Can walking through Rome alone, calm, hands in his pockets, a quiet peace in his eyes. No entourage. No cameras chasing him. Just a man who finally seemed content. Observers said he stopped at a flower stand that morning and bought a single white tulip. He placed it gently on a cafe table. The same cafe where months earlier he'd been seen smiling at Sarah. Those who were there say he sat for 10 minutes, looking out the window, smiling softly, before leaving without a word. No photos with fans. No publicity. Just a moment of stillness, his own small way of saying what words could never express. And while the media continued to speculate, engagement rumors, secret trips, even stories of heartbreak, Can never addressed them again. His silence became his statement. His peace, his protection. A close friend later said, "Can learned that love doesn't always belong to the public. Sometimes, it's just two souls who meet at the right time and decide to keep the rest for themselves." Sarah, too, retreated back into her quiet life. She stopped appearing in public, deleted old accounts, and returned to teaching. But every once in a while, fans noticed small hints. A book with his name mentioned in the dedication, a subtle quote about patience, or a crescent moon charm glinting faintly in a photo she didn't even post herself. And that was enough. Because maybe this story wasn't about the headlines, or the photos, or the mystery. Maybe it was about something deeper, two people who found each other in a world that never stops watching, and chose to live their truth in silence. In one of his rare late-night interviews, Ken said something that felt like the final chapter of it all: "I've learned that love doesn't need to shout to be real. The loudest love is the one you never have to explain." And with that, he smiled, that quiet, familiar smile that had once started all of this, and the world understood, this wasn't the end of a rumor. It was the beginning of something real, something private, something only they could ever truly understand. Because sometimes, love doesn't want to be seen. It just wants to be.